Hello, I'm Gordon Lane, editor of CameraLabs.com. I'd like to give you a brief video tour around the Olympus E-410 digital SLR. Here it is, the E-410. It's the successor to the E-400 and the big new feature is Live View. This actually lets you use the main colour monitor for composition, just like a compact digital camera. That's a fairly unique facility to have on a digital SLR. We've got a demonstration of it coming right up. One of the other big differences between this and its predecessor though is availability. The old E400 was only available in Europe, but the new E410 is available worldwide, so anybody can get their hands on this 10 megapixel digital SLR. So let's take a look at it. Well, the first thing you notice is the retro styling. The E410, like the E400 before it, is styled a lot more like say a film SLR of the 80s than a modern digital SLR. And you only have to look at it from above to see that the front is actually very flat. This area here is where you'd normally find a grip on a traditional digital SLR, but there's nothing here. So does that mean that the E410 is hard to hold or uncomfortable to use in practice? Not at all. First of all, one of the advantages of not having a grip is that there's no compromised area between the lens barrel and the grip itself. Some other smaller digital SLRs can actually pinch your fingertips a little bit. Also, it has to be said that 20 years ago, nobody complained about the lack of a grip on an SLR. Almost all of them were designed like this, so it's kind of like going back to some golden years. And in use, it is very comfortable to hold and use. There's also no denying it's an extremely compact camera, so if you're after something very small to throw into your bag or carry around, it's certainly well worth considering. The big new feature about the E410 though is the Live View facilities, and this allows you to use the main colour screen for composition. There I am, actually live on the back of a screen of a digital SLR, and that is quite a unique thing. However, we've got a much more interesting looking demonstration of that coming right up. We're outside with the Olympus E-410, and you'll notice when I switch it on, a little blue light flashing. That indicates the anti-dust filter working, and it's really quite discreet. That's all that happens. You don't get the animation on the back of earlier Olympus cameras. You also notice on the back of the E410 that there's a vast amount of shooting information shown at all times. However, if you have a look at the back of the camera, there aren't any obvious buttons for adjusting any of these things. Where's the button for ISO or white balance, for example? Well, it seems like a terrible omission, but Olympus has it worked out in practice. What you do is press the OK button in the middle of the 4 direction arrows, and you'll notice the ISO value is now highlighted yellow. I can now use the thumb dial to actually adjust this setting, or if I like, I can just press the OK button, and then I get a more traditional menu to adjust it. That's all very well for ISO, but what about the other settings? Well, to do that, press the OK button again, and you can now actually use the direction buttons to move this yellow highlight to any option you want. It's really quick in practice as well. Let's see. If I press the OK button, let's change the ISO to 200, maybe the white balance to daylight, the picture mode from vivid to natural, and then maybe the drive mode from single to continuous. Now that was an awful lot of settings I just changed there, but it was all achieved very quickly and easily. So in practice it's a really good system. Also, if you press the info button in the bottom left corner, you can reformat the screen to show even more information. And by pressing the OK button again, you can move the highlighter around to any setting you like. Of course, the thing that makes the E410 really special, and the feature that makes it different from its predecessor, is the Live View facility. And to activate that, you just press this monitor button here. Press the button and you'll hear the mirror flipped up there, and it's now providing a live view of the scene in front of us. And like a compact camera, you can overlay various graphics on the screen. Press the info button in the bottom left corner now, and you can display shooting information, a grid to help with alignment, and you can change that graphic if you want to something else, and even a live histogram. Try doing that with another DSLR. Also, you'll notice this mode here has got a green rectangle in the middle, and I can actually move this around the screen to an area, maybe over the mountain ridge here in the upper right, and if I press OK, we actually get a magnified view here. This is really handy for manual focusing. The other thing you can do, if I press the OK button, is overlay those graphics again on the screen, so again you've still got very quick and easy access to various adjustments. Now, the big downside with Live View mode on a DSLR is that when you flip the mirror up, you're actually bypassing the autofocus system. So how does the E410 autofocus? Well, to do that, you need to press a button just to the top right of the screen. And you'll see what happens in practice. I press the button now, and you'll hear that the mirror flipped back down again, took an autofocus reading, then flipped back up again to continue the live view. So in practice it's really not that quick, and it does make a little bit of noise as well, so if you're trying to be discreet you might turn a few heads, but that's the penalty you pay for having a live view facility on a digital SLR, and in practice we really did find it very useful. Now before wrapping up, I'd like to show you a few things in Playback. So if I press the play button, you'll hear that the mirror flipped back down again there to save some power. Here's a picture that we took earlier, and by pressing the info button we can overlay various pieces of information on the screen. There's the shooting information, RGB histograms, a brightness histogram, although it does look slightly coarse compared to some other cameras like say the Nikon D40 and D40X. But you also get things like flashing highlights and shadow areas. This shows you where you've clipped the image. The Olympus also doesn't skimp in terms of zooming in and zooming out. If I'd used the thumb dial here, you can zoom into a massive 14 times. This is a lot more than a lot of cameras offer, and allows you to really have a close look at the detail in your image. If you zoom out though, the E-410 also shows you a variety of thumbnail views. There's first of all 4 thumbnails, then 9, then 16, and even 25. And there's also even a neat calendar view option which shows you the pictures you've taken on various days. The Olympus E-410 certainly has a lot going for it. Most obviously, its compact size and weight will greatly appeal to anybody upgrading to their first digital SLR from a compact digital camera. But equally, it could appeal to someone who perhaps leaves their current digital SLR at home when it's too big and heavy and inconvenient to carry around. Perhaps they're going to a party or a wedding, or maybe they're on a long hike. Either way, these are all situations where perhaps a more compact light digital SLR, like the E-410, could prove invaluable. There are also unique benefits to this compared to rival models. The anti-dust system may not be infallible, but it is the most effective system that we've tested so far. The live view system also has some genuine benefits in practice. Now, as you saw in the demonstration a moment ago, it may not be that quick to use, and if you're coming from a compact digital camera, you'll also notice the screen refresh isn't quite as smooth in practice, but there are some unique benefits that it does give a camera like the E-410. The alignment grid is very useful, as is 100% coverage. These are all really neat things to have in practice and all unique to a camera which has live view facilities. But there are downsides to the E-410. Most of them are actually to do with the 4/3 standard which it's based on. First of all, the viewfinder is slightly smaller than those in rival digital SLRs, and the manual focusing system is motor assisted, and that can take a bit of getting used to if you're more familiar with a mechanical system. But perhaps the E-410's biggest problem is the lack of stabilised optics. Now, Olympus doesn't make any, but it says that's no problem. 4/3 is an open standard, so just buy a stabilised lens from another manufacturer. That's fine, but of the 30 or more than 30 4/3 lenses that are available right now, only one has optical stabilisation, and it's very expensive and quite hard to come by. That's actually the standard lens you get in the Panasonic L1 kit. So until a manufacturer does produce a more affordable and readily available stabilised lens, then your options for anti-shake are going to be limited with the E-410. And it's also undeniably something that might have you looking at the forthcoming E-510 instead. But of course the big question is, how does the E-410 compare to really big rival models like the Canon 400D XTI and the Nikon D40X? Well, to find out, head over to our full review at www.cameralabs.com, where you'll find example images from the E-410 and also comparisons directly against the Canon and Nikon models. So to see how it measures up in practice, head over to the website and see what you think.